War's hidden ledger. Who really pays? Welcome to this discussion about the economics of war and why pouring resources into conflict just doesn't add up. I've been thinking a lot about how societies get roped into these massive drains on their wealth, all in the name of so-called security or power. Today, I'm unpacking the real costs behind it all, drawing from some solid research on how war eats away at economies while peace builds them up. Stick with me as we explore why focusing on creating wealth through cooperation makes way more sense than chasing dominance through destruction. Before we continue exploring the economics of war, a quick note. If this discussion strikes a chord, maybe a key insight or historical parallel, please like, share, follow, and subscribe for more. Let me start by painting a picture without giving away the full story. Imagine a world where the biggest battles aren't fought with weapons but with ideas and trade. What if the real power came from building things up instead of tearing them down? We've got examples from history where shifts away from endless fighting led to booms and prosperity, but also stark reminders of how conflict spirals into economic black holes. I'll tease this. The math behind modern warfare is stacked against the big spenders, and the hidden bills, from lost lives to inflated debts, pile up in ways that crush everyday people. By the end, you'll see why betting on peace isn't just idealistic. It's the smartest economic move. Alright, now let's get into the meat of it. Picture this: in asymmetric conflicts, one side rolls out cheap, mass-produced systems like small unmanned aerial vehicles that cost pocket change to make, maybe tens of thousands per unit. They're simple, easy to churn out in huge numbers, and can swarm targets without much risk to the operators. On the flip side, the defenders pull out high-end interceptors, each one ringing up at millions. You fire one, maybe two or three to take down a single incoming threat because accuracy isn't perfect under pressure. That's a cost ratio of 20 to 1 or worse, sometimes hitting 100 to 1. The attackers spend peanuts to force the defenders into burning through fortunes. Over time, this isn't sustainable. The expensive side runs out of cash first, even if their tech looks flashy on paper. Why does this happen? Bureaucratized systems breed inefficiency. When procurement gets tangled in layers of oversight, contracts, and middlemen, costs balloon. A single advanced missile system might involve dozens of suppliers, each taking a cut, plus testing and upgrades that drag on for years. Meanwhile, mass-produced alternatives skip the red tape. They're basic, reliable enough for the job, and scalable. History shows this tension repeatedly. Fancy, high-quality gear versus good enough swarms. The swarms win on economics because they force the opponent to overspend just to stay in the game. Counterarguments say high-tech gives an edge in precision or deterrence, but logic tears that apart. Precision doesn't matter if you can't afford to fire enough shots, and deterrence fails when the cheap side knows they can outlast you financially. It's like using a gold-plated hammer to swat flies. You might hit one, but the swarm keeps coming, and you're broke by the end. Now, factor in the human element: foot soldiers. These aren't just numbers. They're people with massive economic ripple effects. Training one costs hundreds of thousands. Gear, transport, logistics to move them in and out of zones. Injuries rack up medical bills in the millions per case. Ongoing care, rehab, lost productivity back home. Deaths? That's families shattered, pensions paid out, societal gaps where skilled workers should have been contributing. One estimate puts lifetime costs for a severely injured veteran at over $1 million, not counting the emotional toll that drags on economies through reduced workforce morale. Wars chew through people, and societies foot the bill in lost GDP. Studies show conflicts shave off 15 to 20% of per capita output over years, with recoveries taking decades if they happen at all. Counterfolks might argue soldiers boost employment, but that's a fallacy. It's like breaking windows to create jobs for glaziers. You're destroying value elsewhere. Resources tied up in military manpower could have gone to innovation, education, or infrastructure that actually grows wealth. Shifting gears to the bigger picture: why society shouldn't and logically can't afford to keep paying for this. Wars rack up trillions in direct costs. Munitions, bases, operations. But the indirect hits are killers, opportunity costs where that money could have built schools, hospitals, or tech hubs. One report pegs global arming expenses over decades at 3 times the cost of actual fighting. Arming happens constantly everywhere while wars are rare, but the drain is steady. Inflation spikes from borrowing to fund it all. Debts balloon, interest payments eat budgets. In fragile areas, conflicts wipe out aid equivalents. Billions lost to violence that could have lifted economies. Logic says, if war depresses growth by 3 to 10% annually depending on intensity, why chase it? Peaceful periods show 1 to 2% higher per capita GDP growth, attracting investments, stabilizing currencies, boosting trade. High peace environments draw foreign direct investment because they're predictable. No one pours money into chaos. Themes-wise, let's analyze this. The hierarchy of expenses in leadership is a trap. Top brass prioritize dominance, funneling funds into bloated systems for prestige or personal gain. Corruption creeps in, expensive contracts mean bigger kickbacks. But societies pay higher taxes, cut services, eroded living standards. Free markets thrive in peace, where voluntary exchanges build wealth without coercion. Authority-oriented systems might push military might, but they ignore the math: dominance drains, cooperation multiplies. Bolshevism or Marxism. They've historically ramped up arms races too, under guises of defense, but end up with the same economic craters. Stifled innovation, misallocated resources. Reason destroys, the war stimulates economy. Myth, yes, it spikes demand for arms, but that's artificial. True growth comes from producing consumer goods, not destruction tools. Peace keeps wealth cycling productively. War consumes it. Diving deeper, water and resources as weapons highlight the insanity. In arid regions, hitting infrastructure like desalination plants, cheap to attack, billions to fix, cripples economies without full invasions. No water means no farming, no industry, mass displacement. Societies collapse inward, fighting over scraps. Why pay for this cycle? Logic. Invest in shared resources instead. Joint water projects foster trade, reduce tensions. Ethnic divides get exploited in conflicts, but peace builds bridges through economic ties, making unity profitable. Global links mean one region's war ripples. Disrupted supply chains, spiked energy prices, inflation everywhere. Better to focus on wealth production, tech, education, trade that lifts all boats. Pulling from historical wisdom, one thinker from the past put it bluntly, peace is the most powerful weapon for mankind. Another observation, the higher the standard of living rises, the lower the level of violence will fall. And this gem, in a good country, virtues wouldn't be necessary. Everybody could be quite ordinary, middling, and for all I care, cowards. These echo the logic, peace isn't weakness, it's efficiency. Economies flourish when resources go to creation, not carnage. Wrapping this up, I highly recommend shifting our collective mindset toward peace as the ultimate economic strategy. Ditch the dominance chase. Embrace wealth building through open markets and cooperation. The numbers don't lie, wars bankrupt societies, peace enriches them. If we redirect even half those military budgets to health, education, and innovation, imagine the prosperity. It's not pie in the sky, it's cold, hard logic. Thanks for joining me on this thought journey. Let's build a world where wealth wins over war. Stay safe, stay free,